Hi, everyone, and welcome to another of our daily devotions. This devotion is for Tuesday, August 18, 2020. Today, I'm going to depart a little bit from the Revised Common Lectionary, those prescribed readings for each day, because I've been thinking quite a bit and talking together with my wife and others about the importance of prayer and how prayer actually works. So I thought I'd share some thoughts today, and maybe tomorrow we'll share some more. But my mind was drawn to a passage in Paul's letter to the Romans. This is Romans chapter 8, and it starts at verse 26. The apostle writes, "Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know how to pray as we ought. But that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God." Quite a remarkable thing to consider, that the Spirit of God working within us actually prays for us, not necessarily prays for our well-being, but prays on our behalf to God when we don't know how to pray as we ought to. And how often is that? Every day I have a prayer list, and I pray for family and for friends, for church members, for people I know of in need, and many other individuals and situations. But to be perfectly honest, I don't often know what's really needed and what's really best in each situation. How then can I pray for what I don't even know? I don't know what to ask God to do, and I might be asking God for something totally irrelevant and insignificant and maybe even ultimately hurtful in another person's life. So it's best at times like that not to pray with a lot of words, not to pray with my brain, but to pray with my heart and allow the Spirit of God to pray for me without words. You know, the late, great C.S. Lewis, tremendous popularizer and philosopher of Christianity, wrote a series of letters to a colleague friend called Malcolm, and they're collected in a little book called Letters to Malcolm, chiefly on prayer. And in one of the letters to Malcolm, Lewis talks about what he considers to be the best kind of prayer, and that is prayer without words, and sometimes without even naming names. He goes on to say that when he is blessed to pray this way, which is not all the time, but when he is blessed to pray this way, he simply lifts up in his consciousness mental images of those individuals or situations for which he desires God's purpose, God's will, God's intention to be done. He lifts them up with a yearning, with a longing, with a desire for good, without naming the name or expressing with his rational thoughts the need as he thinks he understands it. That's a really good way to pray. It makes space not only for the possibility of our ignorance and God's understanding, but it makes space for the Spirit of God to intercede with us on our behalf for others according to God's will, according to what God knows is best. And so I wanted to share that thought with you about prayer today. And I have a few more thoughts that we've been talking over and thinking about. I'll come back tomorrow with another one. But for today, let's together consider the possibility and maybe even try to practice praying without words, allowing the Spirit to pray in and for us according to the will of God. May not happen, but if it does, what a blessing. Let's us pray together right now. Oh God, in our hearts, we desire your good for all those whom we love, indeed, for all those who are in need. And yet, we often don't know what your good actually looks like. And so we ask that you will help us in our prayers to lift up before you in our hearts those who we love and the situations that we are aware of, and simply place them in your presence, allowing your Spirit to intercede for us according to your will. And Lord, if we must use words, then perhaps the words that Jesus taught us are best. To simply say, Our Father in heaven, blessed be your name. May your will be done in earth as in heaven. Amen. Thanks for joining me today for this little devotion on prayer. I'll be back again tomorrow and share a couple more thoughts with you. I pray God will bless you according to your deepest need. Until then.